Damn, son, where'd you find this?
People don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad.
One thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who act like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico, they never lied.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late, they cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
Mantra, slave songs, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I am, my ancestors speak. They tell me the tide isn't friend on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep. Longing to sing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones would bleed. Begging the generations remember our story.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Peace and blessings to the people. Happy Friday. What's the word? How y'all doing today, man? We made it one more. Shout outs to my writers, poets, content creators. Later on, the open mic returns. Tap in if you're in the building. We got a lot to cover this morning, man. I'm just grateful to be here. Coach, Grand Risings to you, sir. How you feeling?
Hey, good morning, man. Feeling good. Appreciate you having me this morning. How about yourself? How you doing?
I'm good. I didn't want to get out that bed. It was like that cool air. It kind of just make you just want to stay bundled up. You don't really want to move around too much.
Right.
So it took me about a half an hour to just prepare myself to get out that bed, but I did, and I'm glad that I did. So yeah, man, we here. Yeah,
I hear you, man. Especially if you got one of them down comforters, man. Nice thick blankets, sitting there relaxing. I understand that. Sometimes you got to move slow, man. You ain't always got to move fast. Start out slow and get that day going just right.
Right. But look, man, I got this clip. Man finds woman locked in dog kennel in neighbor's yard. I be looking for some outlandish, outrageous type stuff. Some of it really be, I can't really believe people do this. Other videos be like, I can't really believe people said what they said out their mouth. The one that I wanted to do, you saw it. We're still going to tap in on that one, but I forgot that I had this one, and so I'm gonna put it up on the big screen. I'm gonna let it play, and we're just gonna go from there, man. This is some crazy shit.
Yeah, let's do it. Crazy time, crazy world. Give us something to talk about this morning.
You're not here.
What are you scared of, Emily?
She walked into a fucking kennel, bro. Is everything okay?
Can I put my dogs up? I'm scared, brother. I'm scared. What are you scared of, Emily?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
are you scared of?
You locked your kid in a dog kennel.
Yes, because she's tearing up everything and pissing
You
on
really
everything.
think locking a kid into a special need kid? A special need kid. Locking her up in a dog
I'm
kennel?
gonna put this dog in there.
No, you understand how that is on a special needs kid? To where I get home and I hear somebody screaming like that? Just breathe, okay? Help is here. Help is here. You're okay. This ain't gonna happen to you again. We got you help, all right? What's your name? I'm Justin, okay?
You see this on crime TV or, movies and stuff like that. And I didn't think that it being this close right there, that it would happen in my backyard. But like they say, you never know who your neighbor is.
You know.
Just to give y'all some context real quick, that's not her biological child. She adopted that child. That's neither here nor there though. The point is, this child has a disability, and even if the child didn't have a disability, what is it about? Because what is it about these adopted parents where I keep seeing stories about them doing some of the most inhumane things to these kids, man?
Man, that's a lot to unpack. I don't know. I guess we can just talk about particularly the adopted parents, but I think it's just people in today's society, period. Especially with social media, it's putting a light on a lot of things that are kind of amplifying things that are going on. It's just the lack of respect and care for human regard, period. It just seems like people just don't care anymore. Like the lack of respect for, the lack of empathy, it's crazy. And you can go down a large rabbit hole when you start talking about adopted parents and adopt kids in that environment. You have to be careful though, because you can't speak to somebody's mental well-being. You can only kind of speak to their actions and the patterns. But you can obviously tell. She said that she was inside the house tearing up things, and then she said she was going to let the dog go in the house. So it seems like she has made more of a love for the animal than for the actual 22-year-old child that was in the kennel itself. So take a look at the individual person, and then look at the mental capabilities, of people adopting these kids. You don't want to say it's a money grab, but sometimes I guess it has to be a better process, a better screening process of how they are allowing people to be foster parents. I think that's probably where you have to start is, what's the screening process and what weeds somebody out or weeds them in that makes them eligible to be a foster parent.
That's what I would like to know. Some of y'all might not know this, but over the last year, this would probably be my 5th or 6th story. Either I've done a reaction video to one or I've done a live stream on this. One video that I did a few months ago was on a man who actually locked his son, who was autistic, locked him. He basically built an in-house um, you know how they have animal rescues and they have the cages, and he built an inside thing for the son, had him locked away inside of the cage. Police came because the kid was missing from school. The kid was butt naked inside the cage. The floor was destroyed. It was absolutely a mess. All he could say was my kid destroyed stuff. The same thing that she just said. He said the same thing. My kid just destroyed stuff. So I did this to protect him, and but the conditions, and you see how that little boy was laying. They blurred it out, but it's like I'm with you. How are you screening these adults? I did another video where the foster mother, she put a lock on the refrigerator and on the freezer, and she was literally locking kids away inside of the closet. Sometimes they would be in there for days, and she would barely feed them, to the point to where you had two of them running away. And it's like, I know it ain't all foster parents, right? But the fact that we have way too many of these stories is telling me that someone's not really doing their job at all.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure, and I'm sure somebody's out there doing case studies, as far as for legal repercussions, for child neglect cases versus, the supportive interventions. And that's definitely something that should be highlighted, definitely shed a light on. And then just, probably going more into debt and educating people about the Child Welfare Act, and the implications for special needs parents. Because I think if more people were more familiar, then they will probably, that whole thing, see something, say something, kind of like that gentleman in the video. I would be curious to wonder how many more people in the neighborhood heard out the outcries from that child inside of that dog kennel and ignored it, right? Because it took that individual being courageous enough to see something, go explore it, and then call the cops or the authorities, whoever he called. But I definitely would be interested, to know the backstory in that neighborhood and how many people did not identify that problem. And that would probably shed some more light and insight on some of the issues that you have, within that community. Not just necessarily saying the neighborhood, but just in the foster community, and people hearing those type of things and just turning the a deaf ear to it. No pun intended.
Another thing that's sad here, a lot of these folks that are adopting these kids, they're only doing it for a paycheck. So you got bills and you have all these expenses. You don't even have the same level of concern or consideration for the well-being of these kids that you're taking on. You just want that first of the month and that 15th to come through so that you can maintain this unhealthy lifestyle that you live. Whole time you got kids that they're sick, maybe not direly sick, but they have things going on that requires constant care. You don't really seem to be concerned about that. I know it ain't a lot, it's not a majority, but it's a lot of them that just care about that money. But I do think that what you said about the neighbors and the area in general itself, the tribe is we've said that before, the tribe is missing. You don't have people looking out their front door, out their window saying, hey, I see something suspicious around your house. You might want to look into that. I'm hearing a lot of fighting next door. Can you send somebody over to such and such, such and such? You don't really see that too much anymore either. So that's definitely a concern. When you say training, right, or educating these foster parents or potential foster parents, Do you think that's missing? Do you not think that they do it now, or is it kind of we're just gonna try to get you into a home as fast as possible? We're not really too concerned about whether or not you're in the right environment or not, because TV make it look like they're very strict, like they put you through a whole process. Then you see stuff like this, and then I'm like, well, you really can't be doing that if this right here is happening.
I think with everything and every system, by default, you have to have training. Now, that doesn't speak to the actual value of the training program itself, and also the instructors that are delivering the training. So there might be training involved, but and again, it all comes down to human error. So it would depend on the follow-up, the feedback given to the actual parents and the child, to and both from the actual organization. And then, I know they do have visits, whether they're surprise visits or, unannounced visits, or they're scheduled visits. You know how that can be. If it's a scheduled visit, then we're all going to put on our best clothes, our best behavior. And then we, as you like to say, cosplay. You're going to perform when they come out there. You're going to perform for the inspectors, the old dog and pony show. But there's different programs that they have out there. So I don't know necessarily about the training, but I definitely would say, if you look at the patterns, and you just mentioned two situations where both of the parents referenced that the children were destructive in the home, and their first reaction was to put them in a cage, or that seems to be, if it wasn't the first reaction, that seems to be the reaction that was most sustainable, the one that they probably got the most, they got the most relief from the child, because that way they were restricted and confined to an area, and they didn't have to necessarily maybe worry about them during that particular time because they were caged, locked into the cage. But there's different programs out there. What you just mentioned in those two situations, they have one that's called the Parent to Parent USA, and that organization, it provides peer support through a networking of parents who have similar experiences or similar challenges. So I would say something like that, if they're keeping the tabs on and they identify that the pattern of people secluding or putting them in cages might not necessarily be the best course of action. Let's look at some of the other things that other parents that may have went through similar things and how they kind of went through the process. And also maybe a funding issue, because we know everything with the government is always about funding, not necessarily having enough money and resources. So that could be an issue as well. So one of the things I would say is, again, to those parents that are probably out there struggling and identifying, and also the workers, is, to raise the flag, as we talk about so much now with red flags, is identify the problem, and then, maybe we can outsource and you maybe subcontract to provide some better answers and some better solutions than, locking and securing them inside of a cage. Because also being a foster parent, I'm not saying by any means that's an easy task. So put through whatever the stress, but that you're taking on by bringing in another human being into your home, and not necessarily might not be equipped to deal with the personalities and the medical conditions that come along with that. Now, that's something that, they should have thought about, and I'm sure they would ask thousands of times, or maybe hundreds of times, or 20 times before signing that paperwork and finalizing it. But maybe they didn't realize it until they got in that type of environment. So I would, again, try to figure out where everybody's coming from with the same analogy of locking them in a cage or in a room, and try to find better course of actions versus isolation.
Wanted to bring this up real quick just for educational purposes, or just in case nobody really was really aware of this. Approximately 12% to 36% of youth who age out of the foster care system become homeless. Additionally, about 25% of former foster youth experience homelessness within 4 years of being emancipated. Furthermore, between 31 and 46% of youth exiting foster care will end up homeless by the age of 26. Notably, more than 50% of America's homeless population has spent some time in foster care. Reason why I wanted to bring that one up was because we clearly are doing something wrong, right? Because I mean, you can't help the fact that your biological parents might not have been in the best position to take care of you. Maybe they died. Maybe they just were awful people. Maybe it was just one of them situations where it was best for you to be in another household. But looking at those numbers, if I'm going to take a child away from their family and put them in another house, I thought the whole purpose was to put them in a better position than the one that they left from. I could be wrong. Maybe that's not what I just lost translation, because you take me out of danger to put me in more danger, or you're supposed to be protecting me. This was an evil man. This was an evil woman. They were abusive. They were neglectful. They were this. They were that. You put me in a brand new environment. I don't know nobody. My attitude and the way that I was brought up is probably going to be problematic to someone who is deciding to bring me in. But you see these numbers, and then it's like, all right, clearly something is missing here. Doesn't make it any better when you have a disabled child that's being put at a disadvantage with a woman who wears a shirt that says "I am crazy." That shit was wild to me. She literally, like, what?
I saw that. No, so what you great point, right? So that comes again with the training and the training piece, and like you just said, individuals being problematic. It's the same thing that we have in schools, the same things we have in the prisons. You know, we might be getting to a point where everything is just so overpopulated and overcrowded that maybe some of the standards are slacking off on to where some of these kids will be released into some of the families that they would go to, just to probably get them into a home. I don't know that to be truthful. I'm just speculating. And again, it just goes back to the education piece. It's like you just said, if they potentially to be problematic, are these parents problem solvers? And that's something that, obviously we don't know. We're just kind of having a casual conversation, but that can also lead to further issues, as in any relationship, the inability to be able to communicate. And if the child has, special needs, then they obviously might not be able to communicate or articulate themselves. So then the frustration comes onto the parent or the guardian who's watching over, the kids. And so that becomes an issue as well. And you would just hope that, if a parent was in a situation where they took in, kids with special needs, that they would seek and get that type of help to be able to, work with them and to be able to communicate and articulate themselves with them. But, they are human. I'm not providing them an out or an escape, but just keeping that in mind as well. I think it just has to go back to the system, with the follow-up, continuously to follow up, because, like they said, in Texas, they got free college and education, but the problem is they get lost in the system. So getting lost in the system, and the system is the problem, then it's, I guess we kind of answered our own question right there.
I see so many stories, hear so many stories, and I see 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 so many stories, about the abuse. Are people just taking jobs that they shouldn't have? Like I granted, we all got to work. You want to keep them lights on, you gotta pay them bills. You want to keep your phone and your gas going, you gotta pay them bills. In a perfect world, everybody would be doing what they want to do in life, whatever that is. But that's not how it is. Sometimes you just gotta eat shit and do what you gotta do to make sure that you continue to be productive. Are these people just taking jobs just to be having one? It feels almost as if like, man, I don't really want to be here, but I need the money, my nigga. So I'm just gonna do it anyway and get my check and go home. Because that's how I feel. And I've been that person. I've been around people like that. I'm gonna do the bare minimum. I'm gonna do enough to get paid and go about my business. I don't have the same concern or care about customer service. I don't really care about being a people person. I'm not trying to be the best toilet cleaner, et cetera, et cetera. I just want to do everything by the book. I'm not doing extra. I'm not going above and beyond. You get what you pay for, and I'm out. Are we just like, I don't care no more?
Yeah, again, I can't speak to the mindset of people, but as you said, the patterns is definitely there, especially since COVID. I think it's more or less a lot of people are just over the fact that they have to go to work every day, over the fact that they have to, work for the bare minimum. The taxes are going up, inflation's kicking everybody's behinds, and that's actually not everybody's employed. The employment market's pretty bad out there. So yeah, if somebody can get a job to pay some bills, they're probably going to take a job that they don't want. And if somebody's qualified, and that's not necessarily what they want to do, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to go in there. And if they can give you half, versus full, give you 50% versus 100%, then I'm pretty sure that's probably the choice that they're going to make. Not saying that's good, bad, or indifferent, but just the way people feel right now, it's a lot of people that's not doing good. A lot of people that's, depressed. A lot of people just, financially, emotionally, spiritually, mentally drained, in this economy today. So I definitely think, the question you ask is a lot of people going to work and probably just doing the bare minimum. Absolutely. But not only at work, but just in relationships and even in the home life, because you can't just give your all at work. You got to be the best version of yourself and show up for the people that's around you, not just for people at work. So, again, going back to having kids, adopted kids, any kind of kids, or just being in a relationship, giving that person your best, foot forward and putting that effort into it, because that's the only way, and that's the one thing that's better than currency, right? Is effort. Somebody is going to appreciate your effort and the effort that you dump into them more than the typical person would a lot of money or other type of monetization. And then it's reciprocal. If you put the effort and you pour into me, then I'm going to do the same with you and making sure that I can, again, reciprocating that relationship, and then we can, continue to be a unit, and a responsible unit, a progressive unit, and make sure that more people in our environment, they can continue to vibe and feel our energy. Then now we're affecting the community in a positive way. So yeah, I think it just might be the way that everybody kind of feels today, what's going on, but you still got to push through it, keep your head up, and keep leaning forward.
There's no way you can convince me that this woman signed up to be an adopted parent. The caseworker didn't talk to her. They didn't have a number of conversations. I don't know how the process works. Like, do you go online and do you just sign a form and then somebody get back to you? Do you get to pick specifically if you want someone of a specific age, specific race, or is it kind of just random? But either way, she signed up for it. Someone had to have spoken to her. She had to go through a process. You come to this 22-year-old, you got to have all the information, their details, where they're from, what their conditions is, what kind of medications they might need, all the background. You have that. There's no way you don't know this. And I'm looking at it like, all right, you know what you're signing up for. Me just being a human and a rational, caring person. Oh, I see what I'm gonna have to be more concerned about. I'm gonna have to pour into this area. I'm gonna have to be more proactive. I'm gonna have to. There's certain things that you're gonna have to do to make sure that this person knows that they're loved, that they're cared for, that they're safe, that they're covered, that they're in a better position that they were in before. You're not going to have to worry about the dangers of sneaky and malicious people preying on you and all that. I am your protector. I am signing on to be your protector innately. You can't really fully think for yourself. You can't fully operate out here in the world for yourself because people are monsters, manipulators, abusers, everything underneath the sun you can think of. So me knowing what I'm signing up for, I can't see in any world where I would put you in a kennel, a dog kennel of all places, because you're destroying property. At 420, a woman adopted a foster parent. She adopted a 22-year-old. The 22-year-old has a disability. She doesn't know how to handle it, allegedly. So what she does instead is she puts the 22-year-old in a dog kennel in her yard, in her backyard. A neighbor hears the cries and the screams from the 22-year-old, confronts the woman about it. That's what this is about. And all I'm saying is, why would you? Are you strung out? Are you broke? Are you financially destitute? Are you that obsessed with money? Are you that down to the point where we will sacrifice other people for our own advances just so we can maintain our own financial security? Is that where we at now? Again, I could not see me, and I'm gonna yield the mic. I just can't see me being a foster parent and then I'm taking in a kid who has no hearing. They can't see. Their sight is gone. I take you in, but I'm just collecting. But I'm not helping you walk around. I'm not helping you understand how to read Braille. I'm not helping you how to be okay with being blind legally. I'm just letting you walk around, bumping into stuff, people bullying you. I don't teach you nothing. I don't show you how to love yourself, even when you can't see the world the same. I just couldn't see me doing that. I just don't understand some people.
Yeah, no, I get it, and that's the thing is, even though you may say you can't see yourself doing it, I mean, obviously people are out there doing it. So it's okay. So we've identified that there's an issue in the community. So what's next? And I think that's kind of what we need to focus on. Again, highlighting the neighbors in that area by, you know, raising the flag and calling attention to it. I'm sure that individual had family members. So again, those are more people that turned a blind eye to the situation or to allow those things to continue. So again, it's about the people that they surround themselves with, and they didn't say anything about it. And if they did say something, they didn't do enough to bring it to light. So those are the things we got to kind of focus on, because the system is obviously broken. And if the system is broken, then what's the next course of action? And again, it's just, you see family members mistreating people, and if you don't identify it and you turn the blind eye, now you're enabling those family members to abuse, you know what I mean, those people. So it's the same concept as having that village and that community around and witnessing these type of things happen. So you just have to speak up. You know, you can assume that somebody has the best intentions. You can assume somebody, you know, behind closed doors are doing all the right things. But yeah, if you see somebody locked into a cage screaming for help, you know, throughout the day and throughout the night, then, you know, as a citizen, you have to do your part and identify it. And then for all the people that's out there that may be going through some things or they are witnessing some things, and if it's not morally or legally right, then, you know, just ask the question, you know, hey, look, what's going on here? And you have to have the courage to, you know, call bullshit and ask the question, because they may thinking their intentions are good or pure, and they aren't. So, you know, again, where's the people that was around this woman? You know what I mean? And they didn't say anything. And so they need to be held accountable as well, not just that, you know, that person. And then find out who's doing the inspections, who signed off on the sheets, and then find their supervisors, because there's a chain of command here. So, you know, it needs to be identified from the bottom to the top and from the top to the bottom. So it's a problem across the board. And then just looking out and being good humans, you just got to identify and call bullshit when you see it.
See something, say something. We got this thing about minding our business. Oh, it's not happening in my house, so why should I care about it? Oh, that's their problem. Let their family deal with that. I don't want to be labeled as no snitch. I don't want to be labeled as this, and I don't want to be labeled as that. Did you not just watch them literally put their hands on this person? Did you not just see that child walking 10 blocks to school with no shoes on by herself? That was another video I just watched. I'm gonna try to find that video. I think I saved it. Some random dude was driving. He sees a little girl with no shoes on walking in the snow on 10 blocks to school. He gets out the car. He doesn't get her, put her in the car. He just walks with her the 10 blocks to the school. Get her to the school. Nobody knows where the mama was. Come to find out, the mama was on social media. The mama was on Instagram and TikTok making videos. But your child just walked with a stranger to her own school with no shoes on. No sister in sight. Nobody. So that kid could have got snatched up easily. You know how predators are now. You know trafficking is real. You know this stuff is going on. But in that same instance, I had a lot of angry people in the comment section, rightfully so. But then you'll still have a few knuckleheads out there that'll be like, that's not my business. That ain't my problem. Let the parents worry about it. How the fuck are the parents going to worry about it if they don't know that what they did was wrong? If that child would have disappeared and nobody knew anything, you know how they be real funny about cameras and footage They don't see nothing until days later, depending on who the person is. And this is a black kid, so that definitely would have took longer for some reason. So yeah, all this. Oh, it's not my business. I want to say something. Look, if you feel in your gut you want to say something, it must be that bad. If you get the feeling that, yeah, you probably just need to go ahead and do it. Like I don't care if you don't want to hang out with me no more. I don't care if you want to play with my toys. I don't care about none of that shit. You need to be held accountable. Whether it's prison time, maybe you need them taken out the house. Maybe I don't know. Something has to be addressed with that. And I can't be of any kind of service if I'm not really being of any kind of service. There's no way I could just walk away from some shit like that.
No, great point, man. Like you just mentioned, accountability, and that's what it starts and ends with. You know, is holding yourself accountable, and then holding each other accountable. And those are some of the things that we're kind of getting away from as a society is accountability. Again, with the cutoff culture, the cancel culture, I don't have to talk to you no more culture if I don't want to. Getting away from problem solving, just walking away from everything and just leaving things in shambles, right? And then not trying to figure out how to put things back together. It's something that we as a people are going away from. And then it just, each one teach one. Start by holding yourself accountable. And once you do that, you'll start to see things change. You wondering why things are going wrong? Take a look in the mirror. It's probably starting with you. And then look at the people you surround yourself with. If you're trying to figure out how you got so far gone without anybody saying anything, it's probably because you got a pretty crappy circle around you. Nobody holding you accountable to make sure that you stay within those boundaries and those guidelines of how you operate and how, we operate in society. So again, just want to throw this out there. So if there's anybody out there that, needs some help or is going through some things, a National Parent Helpline, 1-855-4A-PARENT. And that's a free confidential service that offers parents emotional support and guidance, and it'll connect you with a trained advocate. So if somebody's going through something out there, or somebody is, and they just need to get with a trained advocate, you can reach out to them, and that's a good resource to have, especially around the holidays.
I'm glad you shared that. Matter of fact, post that number in the chat if you could. I'll put a star next to it and highlight it just for the people. We need to utilize every resource that we possibly can these days. I mean, these folks are getting paid to do a job. Let them do their job. And if they're not doing their job, then that's another conversation that we need to have too. You ain't stepping up and doing what you're supposed to be doing to make sure that these kids are going into these homes with the right intentions, because there's a lot of folks that are absolutely doing the complete opposite. They're put on the whole front like they care. Hold on a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got you.
Like you said, man, people just, put on their costume, put on their mask, and continue to pretend. The law of the lid, you got to make sure you can pour into somebody, man. They got to be teachable, got to be coachable. And if they aren't, then they probably aren't the right ones that's, out there trying to be somebody else's parent. Again, you got to identify those type of things, and don't be afraid to jump in and offer a helping hand. And that's just, like you said, people turn their backs and don't want to assist anybody anymore. Back in the days, your neighbor used to help raise you. Your neighbor's neighbor used to help raise you. There was a Miss Josie, or somebody for everybody that was in the neighborhood that would call your grandma, and spread that word, snitch on you, tell on you. Before you know it, you was getting smacked for something you did 3 blocks away. Didn't even know that was going on. That's crazy. You got that number? Okay, there.
Yeah,
I see
yeah.
it. I see it.
Oh, Sharice Gibson. Yeah. The man was on the road. He stopped, and then I don't know. I don't get it. Kids should not be walking. No, in 2025, kids should not be walking anywhere by themselves. Hell, adults can barely walk anywhere by themselves. Now, I don't know if it's because people don't think trafficking is a real thing. It's a real thing. Yes, it's happening everywhere, even in places you don't think it's happening. So I don't take stuff like that lightly. I don't care if you don't want to get out of bed. I don't care if you got the day off. Get your ass up and you drive them to school. You walk with them to school. You what you do not let kids go anywhere by themselves. We've gotten too comfortable letting them just be. You want kids to be adults so bad so that you don't really have to monitor them or something. I don't get it. They out here smoking and drinking and they run in the streets like what?
Yeah, it's more or less of a it's more let's be friends now versus you know what I mean, establishing those boundaries, parent, child. It's more you're my hangout buddy, especially if you don't have a lot of friends per se. You know, what better friend to have than your mini me running around, you guys doing the same things, shopping, whatever the case may be. You see a lot of that now, and a lot of it's glorified on social media. So again, social media being such a powerful tool, but great power comes great responsibility. You got to start focusing and showing some of the positive things online. How we're mentoring, we're empowering kids, but not enabling them to be the worst versions of ourselves or who we wanted to be when we were growing up. So I think it's a fine line. Just again, just picking and choosing the things that you consume online as well. But it's nothing you can do. You're fighting against the algorithm. So, but if more people, come together and stop clicking on all that crazy stuff and start shifting and redirecting the way the algorithms work, maybe it'll work and maybe it won't work. But that's another solution versus another problem. So I don't know. What's your thoughts?
I want to say this. Shout out to the foster parents, the aunties, the uncles. Shout out to the ones who really facilitate a healthy environment. I know we spent a nice little portion about some of the darker side of it, but there's some adults out here, man, that they step in and they are absolutely a blessing to somebody. They really treat them as if that's their blood. Go to the games. They have cookouts, sleepovers. They build forts. They talk about life. They have all the uncomfortable conversations. They treat you as if you are their very own. And I don't think they get enough support or love. So I just wanted to take that quick little moment to say, man, salutes to y'all, because a lot of us out here are not moving that way. And like the stereotypes, they exist for a reason. I don't like them. I don't advocate for them, but they exist for a reason, because there are people out here that really are negligent, dismissive, greedy, and a long list of other things that play a role in why these kids are ending up homeless. That's crazy. You should be way better off because you survived whatever abuse that you were involved in. When they took you out of the bad place to put you in a better place. So you should be better off. but the numbers don't lie, clearly. So I would love to see some things get better, hopefully, but I don't know. My thoughts and prayers go out to these kids out here on the street. My thoughts and prayers go out to these kids they're in positions that they didn't ask to be in, and they have to do the best that they can do with what they got. Imagine being a foster kid somewhere, you don't know these people. You already got your own baggage that you don't even understand how to figure out, but you still got to try to survive somewhere that you just got placed. So it's not just adults that's going through. It's these kids are going through a lot too. So
No, that's a great point, man. Especially that part, the whole process of trying to process mentally, whatever happened to your biological parents, being inside of that foster system, and then the uncertainty, because like you said, of going to a new home with a new family, you know what I mean, a new school, everything's new, a whole new life, and mentally, depending on that age, and trying to understand and process, feeling unloved, unwanted, worrying about how you're going to be perceived if you're going into a house that has kids already, they're not your actual siblings. If you had siblings, being separated from your siblings. It's a lot to go into that, especially, as a child going through that process. And I don't think a lot is spent on that, just mentally, being able to bounce back from that type of disadvantage and understanding and processing it and being able to move forward. I don't think a lot is talked about in that realm, especially going into a house, with different group dynamics and not knowing how you fit into the process. Because initially you may be welcomed or you may not be welcomed, and that's the honeymoon phase. After that, then what? If you don't necessarily know how to communicate yourself, if you have issues with authority, which typically you hear about, and so then now you got new authoritative figures inside the home with emotions attached to it. Everybody's not thinking logically. Now you enter emotion into the equation. So it's a lot of things that can go wrong if not properly trained, like we talked about earlier, and if not properly educated. And then, with education, now you got to implement and execute. So just because you have the knowledge in your head, you actually got to execute it. And then, everything's good with balance. So you got to not be too hard, not too rough. And then again, thinking about, the people that might be in the area, the other people within the household, adding a new addition. How does that make everybody else feel? So it's just a lot of things in totality that you have to take in consideration that I think a lot of people don't. And it's definitely, it's a large thing to sign on to. And it's definitely, you have to go in with the right intentions. Like you mentioned earlier, if it's something that you're just doing for money, that's definitely not a good look. If you're doing it for money, there's no way you can develop empathy for the situation if you're already looking at it from a greedy financial standpoint. So definitely, all key things to think about, and as you encounter somebody in a foster program or you encounter foster parents, some things to look out for, or just being mindful when you're having those conversations, with those foster parents, the things that their house in totality has gone through. That's a lot. It's not like getting a new puppy, he pees on the floor and that's cute. You got a whole nother human being that you have coming into your home that you have to nurture, you have to take care of. You have to provide some nature because you don't know what portions of nature versus nurture that they've experienced or lack thereof. So again, just, psychologically, it's a lot of things that you have to take in consideration.
well said, bro. Well said. I hope y'all got y'all full for this morning. This was a definite important discussion. You'll have more of these. You definitely will. Yeah, man, you said everything that needed to be said there. I just want to shout you out. Shout out everybody who pulled up for the stream this morning. Appreciate y'all for hanging out with us. Again, tonight is the open mic. So if you into the open mic scene, tap in with us. Have a good time, couple laughs. We up out of here, man. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day. Do me a solid before y'all go, if you don't mind.
What's the goddamn button back?
Peace. Oh, and my thoughts and prayers to Joey Gladstone. My man was in the hospital. I don't know if he's still in there right now, but he going through something. So thoughts and prayers to him, man. We out.
Prayers.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I hide, my ancestors speak. They tell me they're tired as a friend on a slack real weak. I haven't been getting sleep. Longing to sing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones